Welcome to Authentic Walk with God. The topic today is follow to the end. Follow to the end. Once in a while, a serious follower of Jesus Christ takes stock of how he or she has been following the Master, evaluating his or her areas of strength and weakness with an intent for improvement. Yes, proper evaluation promotes growth. This is the concern of today's podcast. Please permit me to read from 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 14. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, "Stay here. The Lord has sent me to Bethel." But Elisha said, "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. The company of the prophets at Bethel came out to Elisha and asked, "Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master from you today?" "Yes, I know," Elisha replied. "So be quiet." Then Elijah said to him, "Stay here, Elisha. The Lord has sent me to Jericho." And he replied, "As surely as the Lord lives and you live, I will not leave you." So they went to Jericho. The company of the prophets at Jericho went up to Elisha and asked him, "Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master from you today?" "Yes, I know," he replied. "So be quiet." Then Elijah said to him, "Stay here. The Lord has sent me to the Jordan." And he replied, "As surely as the Lord lives and you live, I will not leave you." So the two of them walked on. 50 men from the company of the prophets went and stood at a distance, facing the place where Elijah and Elisha had stopped at the Jordan. Elijah took his cloak, rolled it up, and struck the water with it. The water divided to the right and to the left, and the two of them crossed over on dry ground. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken from you?" "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit," Elisha replied. "You have asked a difficult question," Elijah said. "Yet, if you see me when I'm taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not." As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them. And Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elisha saw this and cried out, my father, the chariots and the horsemen of Israel." And Elisha saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garment and tore it in two. Elisha then picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. He took the cloak that had fallen from Elijah and struck the water with it. "Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" he asked. When he struck the water, it divided to the right and to the left, and he crossed over. We want to look at the issue of following Christ. In Matthew chapter 16, verse 24, Jesus said, "If any man would follow me or come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Following Christ certainly involves self-denial. But a person who denies himself things of this world and follows Christ Jesus will never regret his or her decision. We want to seriously consider the necessity of following Christ to the end, no matter what it may take to embark on this spiritual journey. We will take our example from how Elisha followed Elijah and what following to the end did in Elisha's life. Let me read again verses 4, 6, 9, maybe 10 to 13 of the passage we have just read, 2 Kings, chapter 2. I will read verse 4, verse 6, and a few other verses there. Verse 4 says, Then Elijah said to him, Stay here. Elisha and stay here, Elisha. The Lord has sent me to Jericho. And he replied, As surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, I will not leave you. So they went to Jericho. Verse 9, when they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken from you? And then verse 10, that's where we see the reply of Elisha. You have asked a difficult question. But before that, Elisha said to Elijah, Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit. Elisha replied to Elijah's question of what he would want to receive from him. Then verse 10, Elijah said to Elisha, You have asked a difficult thing. Yet if you see me when I'm taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not. And then if we go to verse 13 and read up to verse 14, this is what we say. Elisha then picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. Verse 14, he took the cloak that had fallen from Elijah and struck the water with it. Where now is the Lord, the God of Elijah? He asked. When he struck the water, it divided to the right and to the left, and he crossed over. You see, here we see Elisha's steadfastness in following his master Elijah and what benefit he derived from following to the end. Let me ask you, child of God, a follower of Christ, or a churchgoer, or whatever, a few questions. How do you follow Christ? And when do you follow him? Where do you follow him to? And what do you do in those places? Are you now following Christ, or has he left you somewhere? Where did you miss him? Who or what made you miss Jesus? In our Bible passage, we read that each time Elijah told Elisha to stay and he would go over to somewhere, Elisha said to him politely, No, master, I will go with you. In other words, Elisha was saying to his master, Elijah, I have no better companion than you. You are my best companion. If I miss you, I miss everything in life. I will not allow any distractions, any friendship, any venture, or any other engagement to make me miss you. What about you? Do you feel this way about your relationship with Christ? Are you following him continually, or have you branched out to somewhere else? Has something or someone caused a breach between you and Christ such that Christ has left you far behind? Are you trying to reach to him, but you cannot because some other thing has caught your attention? Though you are not happy where you are, marking time there, yet you continue to be there because of temporary pleasure. Does any of these conditions describe your spiritual pilgrimage? Let us go back to our the place we read, that is 2 Kings chapter 2. And let me read again verses 9 and 10. When they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me, what can I do for you before I am taken from you?" "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit," Elisha replied. "You have asked a difficult thing," Elisha said, "yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours. Otherwise, it will not." Because of Elisha's doggedness and active resolve to follow Elijah to the end, Elijah told Elisha to make a request from him. Do you know what your intimacy with Christ will grant you if you follow him doggedly? Do you know that your intimacy with him will grant you divine favors? In verses 11, 12, and 13, we see Elisha's steadfast following pay off. When did you begin your Christian race, and how far have you run? Are you still running, or have you stopped running? Are you running with Christ, or are you running with the crowd? Do you intend to make it to a blissful end, or are you now experiencing a bleak end? Do you want to follow Christ to the end and experience the joy of heaven? Then listen to these factual suggestions. Number 1, get born again. To be in the church is not enough. To be a pastor or a church officer is not enough. To be a performer in the church, in any area of church life, in music and some other drama or whatever place, is not enough. You must experience a genuine life-transforming encounter with Jesus Christ. Secondly, avoid distractions. Distractions come in many and diverse ways. They can come through persons and through circumstances and situations. They weaken your resolve to follow Christ and they make you lose your focus. That's what distractions do. And thirdly, hold on to Christ. Elisha did not lose his grip on Elijah for a moment. Hence, he got the mantle. In like manner, hold on to Christ always, so that you can arrive at your expected destination. To hold on to Christ means to lose grip of distractions. This is a decision you must take and keep. Let me conclude by saying that Elijah did not want to walk alone. He wanted to test the loyalty and devotion of Elisha to him and to God. In this same way, Christ wants to know how you will perform when he says to you, "Take up my cross and follow me." How are you following? And where will you end? May the Lord help you, if you have started the journey, to make it to the end. And if you have not started, give your life to Jesus today, and he will direct you as you follow him. God bless you. Very good. This is again Peter Nlemadendon Nwachukwu, your friend and brother, and the director of Center for Family Life and Pastoral Care, Owerri, Nigeria. Have a wonderful week.